Hello, thank you for joining us on this episode of Sports Bets for Free. My name is Scott Jenkins, your host, just a local sports bettor here in Phoenix, Arizona. And hopefully today with our bets and your bets, it's going to be another profitable day for you. 2025 ACC college football preview. And this episode brought to you by Outlier.com as well, the app and also online site where we gather all of our research when it comes to all sports that we're into and bets we're going to make. Great stuff on Outlier. If you haven't checked it out already, we will have a link in the comments section for you to go there. Check out to give you best bets, win totals. Going to give you everything college football related, player props, games, best spot to bet it at as well. So check out Outlier.com. Highly recommend it. Anyway, we're going to get to the 2025 preview of the ACC. We did the SEC already. We'll run through approximate where there's more of zones, not necessarily what exact place they're going to finish in the ACC. We'll run through some of the win totals that we've already placed as well. So if you didn't check out our SEC preview, I highly recommend doing that. We'll do the ACC. Then we've got the Big 12 and Big 10 coming up as well, as we'll hit the four major conferences. ACC and the Big 12 probably, rank them 3 or 4 in the conferences. SEC, I think, in Big 10, you can go back and forth at 1 or 2. I think the SEC is a little bit better, but 2 previous champions, national champions, have come out of the Big 12. Not the Big 12, Big 10 with Michigan a couple years ago, Ohio State last season. So there's something to be said on that side as well. But the ACC's got returning quarterbacks, which is not happening a lot in other spots across college football. So keep that in mind as well, as if the returning quarterback's going to be the feature here, which it is for a lot of teams, not necessarily the teams that recruit extremely well, like Ohio State, Georgia, for example. They can get by maybe with a, first-year quarterback for a little while, or, because they recruit every other position so well. But for the teams that are a little bit more fringe, the quarterback's definitely going to make up for some areas where they're not as strong at. So let's get started here with the ACC. So as we go to the bottom of the ACC, obviously a lot of teams towards the bottom, 17 teams in the league. So we're going to have a bunch of teams towards the bottom here. Stanford, 21 points a game last year. Losing David Bailey, was one of their better players on defense, and they ranked 17th in pass efficiency last year. They were just not that great, right? Let's be honest here. So Stanford going over, the dismantling of the Pac-12 definitely hurt Stanford. Now they've got to, basically every time it's a cross-country road trip for every time they've got to head out to the ACC and play football. College football is all about TV money, right? So TV money was big to move over to the ACC. It definitely was big, but they had to make the move. I mean, that conference was imploding. Washington State and Oregon State got left out in the cold, and now they're trying to still rebuild the Pac-12 a year plus later. I don't understand why the teams just didn't try to figure out how to get somewhere else, but they just didn't. But anyway, Stanford, we think at the bottom of at the bottom here, or close to the bottom. You could also throw, I think, Wake Forest at that one as well. Jake Dickert takes over. And Clausen leaves as the coach there. So just 2 starters back on the offense. And they get, after giving up 32.5 points a game per season last year, do we really expect too much out of them this season? Not really, to be really honest. So, those 2 definitely, I think, towards the bottom of the conference. And as we roll through towards the bottom of the conference as well, Cal as well. Mendoza transfers out to Indiana, their quarterback. Running back Ott transfers to Oklahoma. So Devin Brown coming in. And I can't pronounce his name. Sagapulite, the start in 25. Looks like the options there currently at the moment for quarterback. Not a lot expected out of Cal as well. So if we're looking bottom three, Cal, Wake Forest, and Stanford. And to be really honest, in this division here, you can also throw probably Virginia in the mix as well. Maybe even Syracuse there. And Syracuse obviously losing Kyle McCord, their quarterback, who was, let's put Kyle McCord had a lot of different things. He was great at throwing interceptions and touchdowns and yards. But you can kind of rank those towards the bottom. The problem here with the ACC is there's so many teams. When you get to these bottom 4 or 5, there's not really a lot to love unless you went to that school or somehow you're a fan of that school because they're in your area or whatever it may be. But not a ton to love there with all of those teams. Then we get into the top 12. Boston College probably going to be there. Dylan Longhorn also transferred from Alabama to Boston College. Try to get back to get to the starter. Bill O'Brien 7-6 in his first season with Boston College. So I thought it was pretty impressive overall to get that team to 7-6. Didn't look like a 7-6 team on paper. So winning team, go to a bowl, all that kind of mess. Are they actually going to compete for the ACC? I don't think they're remotely close to that point yet. But, I guess if you catch everything absolutely perfectly, I think bowl game again is definitely a good possibility for them. Virginia Tech, another 7-6 season as well. Last season, they're probably in that same ball. We're just at, Boston College and in Virginia Tech, we have above the bottom feeders of the conference. NC State, who we expected actually to have a decent season last year, I thought severely disappointed at a 6-7 record as well. So as that's kind of, we're looking at the bottom half of the ACC. How do I put this? Not a ton to get excited about at all. And in this conference, in my opinion, one of the worst ones out there anyway. And then, around the 8-9 slot, maybe a little bit better. Obviously, the number one storyline probably all offseason long was Bill Belichick taking over North Carolina and his lovely girlfriend being part of the recruiting. Anyway, so obviously Bill Belichick, they got some things to do here. Right. So recruiting was a big deal. Transfers. He's 73. Brought in 40 transfers. Now they do have a good schedule here. South Alabama's quarterback Gio Lopez does transfer over. They're going to be, don't have Marion Hampton anymore as well. So I think that definitely hurts out of the backfield. But do we not expect their defense to be good and keep them in ball games? I mean, I do. So, that's kind of what we got to look at here. As we look through the North Carolina schedule, I think that's another thing to take a look at here. They've got a good, a hard game, I think, to start. TCU, definitely going to, not a make or break for the season, but honestly, for the win total, where we have them at, and that's North Carolina. Let's see here. Let's give you those here. North Carolina at, and I apologize for the little bit of delay here. And with TCU, we had over 6.5 wins. So I think this is one of those games that definitely could play into that. And if they win this one, I think they can easily go over the 6.5 wins in that one. And North Carolina at that 7.5 wins, it was plus money there pretty heavily as well. But you go through the schedule, they got Richmond at home. So Charlotte and Richmond, they should be at worst 2-1 to start off the season. Then they've got to play UCF at UCF, which can always be a tough game. UCF typically can run the ball pretty well. as well. And then you get down to they got Clemson at home. Okay, that's going to be a loss. They go to California. That's one of those games they've got to win on the road. Virginia comes to town. They're better than Virginia, I think. They're better than Syracuse, and they're seeing them on the road. Stanford comes to town. Wake Forest, they go there. That's a game they got to win. Duke comes to town, and they go to NC State to finish off the season. I honestly think they got a shot here on the outside at 9 wins. I don't think they get to 9. I think 8's kind of where it lives. And if they can go 8-4 during the regular season, that's fantastic for North Carolina and Bill Belichick's first year. The question is, how long is he going to be there? 2 to 3 years, kind of the consensus, I guess, on that one. Like I said, if he can stay, I like that he can build this thing for 3 years, then probably hands it off to his son. Maybe he stays on a little bit longer than that. Maybe his health's good enough where he wants to continue to coach. Obviously, to go back to college football and giving up on the broadcasting and all the appearances he was making on football shows as everybody wanted him. Great opportunity here for him. But over 7.5 wins, I think has an excellent chance here for Belichick and North Carolina. Get most out of the roster is going to be definitely important. Then we get to the top 8. Pitt, after going 7-0, they went crazy, right? Defense, pretty solid last season. I wouldn't call it the best defense in the league, but pretty solid overall. But expect around that same 7-8 wins, I think, out of Pittsburgh here. And they should somewhere around that 7-8-9 finishing position in the ACC as well. Then we get to the top 7. Florida State. So 2-10 last year after going 13-1. Mainly, let's be honest, it was the offense. They averaged, a little over 15 points per game, which is not going to get it done in college football today. Hell, it's not going to get done in any football league. It barely gets it done in soccer, right? So 15 points a game, you cannot put that kind of pressure on the defense and expect them to hold up week after week after week after week. Win total, I thought was pretty interesting here. Florida State, I believe, was 6.5 wins. Let me take a look. Yeah, 6.5 wins here was all it took for over there. So, Gus Malzahn, new player caller, Castellanos, the transfer from Boston College. Deuce Robinson, Squirrel White, expect a lot of them offensively at the receiver position. They were really good. They're really good in defense. 23 last year. I think giving up 28 points a game definitely hurt them on that one a little bit. But I think a lot of opportunities here for Florida State to rebound quickly in this one as well. And then we get into the top 6. Duke is the one. Manny Diaz, I think, is a heck of a coach. I don't think he's at 9-4 last season. I don't think they get anywhere near that. In fact, some spots have them as 6. I've actually got them closer to 7, 8, 9, maybe even closer to 9. I think they can lose to North Carolina. I think they definitely aren't as good as all the teams above them here. I think Florida State's might be even better than they are. I like Manny Diaz as a coach. I think the schedule kind of fell right for him last year. They caught a lot of teams in spots last year to go get those 9 wins. I don't see anywhere near 9 wins. If they get to 7, I think that's respectable, to be really honest, with the schedule they've got this season. Might even be a 6-6 team during the regular season for Duke. And then we get 5 at Georgia Tech. So this, in my opinion, is a big number in this one here. They obviously had a great season last year. Haynes King was great, but he was injured quite a bit as well. But, I think they one of those things they took advantage of. Defense is definitely going to be a question. Blake Gideon takes over the defensive calls for Georgia Tech. This is another team I think that slides down a little bit, and this is where North Carolina maybe slides up a little bit in this one as well. I think Duke slides down. I don't expect Georgia Tech to kind of be the monster here as well. Next one up in the ACC, we're going to kind of run through here. To be really honest, I think there's just a few teams in this league. Louisville, I think, is one of those teams that can compete for the ACC title. Now, Clemson should be the runaway favorite, I believe, in this one. I don't believe in Miami as much as some other teams do. I think Carson Beck, you're going to see even more of why Carson Beck is not, first of all, if you're in Miami, you just got done watching Cam Ward last season, who was absolutely fantastic for them and one of the most horrible defenses. But I'm not a big believer in him, but I do like Louisville. Braum does get a lot out of his quarterbacks. Miller Moss is going to be the question. He's also the transfer in from USC. And then Isaac Brown, Duke Watson, Chris Bell, and Colin Lacey at the receiver core. The offense is the offensive line's a little rebuilt. The defense needs a little bit of help. But if things kind of fall their way, do like Louisville here in this conference here. Definitely think top 4 team in the conference, if not top 2 or 3. And then, like I said, SMU, after a monster year last year, let's be honest here, Kevin Jennings, great season in 24. They were really good until the championship game. Then they were really, really bad, right? They were god-awful in the championship game. So what do we expect here out of SMU? Top 4 in the conference, probably again. But do we really expect – I don't know if I expect them to compete here for this conference title, unless it's one of those we make the championship game and somehow somebody gets hurt and all of a sudden we can sneak into this thing. But I don't think they're sneaking up on anybody at all. Number 2, Miami, like I said, Mario Cristobal, I think, is an excellent coach, right? I'm not going to deny Cristobal he can coach in this league. He can. The question is Carson Beck, and is the defense any better? Because they had to score unbelievable amounts of points last year in order to get where they even got, and still figured out a way to fudge that thing away towards the end and couldn't make the college football playoff as well. I don't know if they're a top 2-3 team. I honestly believe in this conference, and I'm not going to say this about any conference. I didn't say it about the SEC. I thought Texas maybe edged out everybody SEC-wise, but in the Big 12 and the Big 10 and, this conference here, it all boils down to one team. And we'll spend probably the most time on that team. But win totals for Miami actually under 9.5 wins. We really like that play there. We'll throw one other team in here. They're independent, but Notre Dame under 10.5 wins as well. But, I know they're not playing the AC schedule as they're independent, but I don't know. They're eventually, I think if the ACC can figure out how to get out of that 10-year deal that they locked themselves into when they shouldn't have went 10 years, maybe Notre Dame figures out how to flip over there. But like I said, this boils down to one team in the ACC period. And to be really honest, out of the top 4 conferences, this is probably my least favorite conference to boot. I just don't know, there's not a ton of stuff there. But Dabo Swinney with Clay Klubnik, I expect Klubnik to have a fantastic season. They got T.J. Parker and Peter Woods, should be All-Americans. Avian Terrell, Ashton Hampton, on the back end of that defense. Defense should be really good overall. Watch out for Gideon Davidson as well in this one for the backfield for the Tigers offensive side. So, like I said, in this conference, which not a big fan of a lot of the teams in this conference, but Clemson should be by far and away the best team in the ACC football-wise this year for 2025. I hope that changes down the road where we're not going to see a bunch of Clemson all the time, because I think Dabo's definitely let off the steam. The days of Deshaun Watson at quarterback and also Trevor Lawrence. Klubnik's okay. He's not my favorite quarterback either, but he does have a ton of experience. He shouldn't turn the ball over much. Their schedule also looks pretty strong as well, where they should be able to make some moves. They got a tough opening game, but the conference schedule is a joke. I mean, they got 17 teams in this division, or in this conference, to be really honest, and there's only really one that's probably got a chance here. Unless Klubnik gets hurt, there's realistically only one team that's probably got a chance to win this conference, and that's the Clemson Tigers, which puts them into the college football playoff, and in my opinion, probably gives them an early round exit as well. So if we're looking at win totals just for this conference that we're in on, let's give you those here quickly. We've got Clemson over 9.5 wins. Let's see here. Miami, Florida under 9.5 wins. North Carolina over 7.5 wins. We mentioned Notre Dame in here just because I'm not going to have an independent show because there's only a couple teams independent. So Notre Dame under 10.5 wins. And that's all we've really got. And like I said, in this actual conference here for win totals, like I said, it's just one of the conferences. Like if I had to rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, ACC for me would be 4. Now, they might have the better team that competes for a national championship, but overall quality of strength of conference, I think they're 4. I think they're behind the Big 12. I think the Big 12 might not have the powerhouse at the top, but they've got a lot of good teams that are going to beat the heck out of each other, I think, for multiple weeks. All right, so thank you for joining us on this episode for the ACC 2025 football preview. If you like the content you're seeing here, make sure you hit the subscribe button here on YouTube, and we'll show up in your subscriptions tab when we drop a new episode of previews and bets like this one here. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, like, comment, share it as well. We greatly appreciate all of those. Also, a couple different things for you. As we mentioned at the start of the show, all of our shows are sponsored by Outlier.com. You can check the app out as well. But if you're looking for research tool that's going to help you be smarter and make better bets, that's Outlier for you. I will have a link in the comments section for you as well to check out the site and the app there. So make sure you do that. Also, private Discord channel available. If we had these win totals out for college within the last month. For the NFL, we've had win totals out now since basically almost the draft. If you wanted baseball, also basketball, we give golf, Formula One, WNBA, all kinds of stuff on the Discord, $50 per month. You can check out the checkout link in the comments section here on YouTube, WHOP. If you see that link, just click that. That'll get you there. Also, if you want to see all of our win totals, you can as well. By checking out our Google Sheets at docs.google.com/spreadsheet. Get that checkout link, or check out that link in the comments section as well. Once you do, go to the football 25-26 tab, scroll all the way down. You'll be able to see all of our preseason bets for the NFL and college football. We do appreciate everybody's support as always, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.